Some of these people not even watching the news. They're watching people on Facebook make posts about homes who don't even own homes.
Yeah.
Don't have $1 million portfolio on real estate, who aren't an agent, who aren't a lender. It's just regular people just talking.
And it's a popularity thing, though. Popularity will lead you right to poverty. I'd rather be unknown and paid than popular and poverty. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Hustle Lounge, starring me, myself, Graham.
What's good? It's your boy Chris. I'm back again.
What's up, y'all? It's Big Show. Back with another one, man. Another episode. Before y'all do anything, man, like, comment, subscribe. Y'all know what to do.
And if you're listening to audio only, please share, please subscribe. Apple, Spotify, just go ahead and knock it out. But hey, today is Monday. It's a big day because it's Monday, right? And we're here. We have a special guest today. And we'd like to respect everyone's time because we have a rambling problem. But we'd like to welcome to the show Sean Love. He's a realtor out of the DC area. And I'll let you introduce yourself, sir.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that, Graham. I appreciate you guys having me on today. Sean Love. I am a realtor out of the DC Metro. I've only been Sean Love for a couple of months now, so some people may know me as Sean Drummond. My wife and I couldn't decide on the last name that we were going to take together, and it was really important for me as we were building a family to have a common last name. So we couldn't decide. She didn't want to take mine, I didn't want to take hers, so we just picked a new one altogether. So we are now the Love family.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I ain't never.
It's got a nice ring to it.
Yeah, it's catchy. Yeah,
I can appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm a realtor here out of the DC Metro. I've been doing this for about 5 years now. I am a prior military guy as well. I used to do intel work in the military. I've been overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan, and one too many nights I was working, I decided that real estate was going to be the next jump for me, and that's just where I went into.
Okay. And how long? You said you've been doing it 5 years. Are you an agent? Are you a lender? Are you a broker?
Yeah, so I'm a real estate agent. I came into real estate back in 2017. I had just come back from Iraq. I was getting out of the military at the time. I really just decided that it was not going to be what I needed to be doing. So got out of the military and I was doing defense contract work. I actually went to go work for the Army and they had me working nights. I literally had been back home for a month. I went and joined them. I was actually a government employee at the time. I was working nights. My hours were Thursday night from 11 p.m. I would work until the morning at 7 a.m. and I would do that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And I would have like Tuesday and Wednesday off. And after about the first 2 weeks of that, I said, this is just not for me. And that's when I decided to kind of get into real estate a little bit more. And that's when I really made the decision to go full time and really pursue getting a real estate license. Originally, my goal was to just be a real estate investor. And I thought that I just needed a real estate license to be a real estate investor. I don't know how many people you've talked to already that have figured that out, that you don't at all. You definitely don't need that. But I kind of got into it. I started working at, there was a transition period of about a year where I still was doing government contracting, for some different organizations, but learning real estate, getting familiar with things. And in January of 2019 or 2018, 2019, I took the jump and I quit my job and just jumped into this full time. And so it's a scary jump, man. I don't know if you guys have ever gone from, well, I don't know what you guys have, but when you go from earning a W-2 guaranteed pay every month for just showing up to doing what I'm doing now, which is it's all commission based. It's 100% commission based. It can be a little bit terrifying at first. So maybe I can give some good insights on do's and don'ts when you guys are ready to make that jump.
Yeah, for sure. I like one thing you said. You say you took a leap, right? A lot of people are afraid to take that jump because they don't know where they're gonna land, if they're gonna sink or swim. They don't know what's gonna happen. So the fact that you did it, knowing that you don't know what's gonna happen, that's what it's all about, that taking that leap just to put yourself out there.
Yeah. And I'll even say, like, the thing that really pushed me was I was actually working for the Army prior to leaving to Iraq. So I was doing the reserve thing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with reserve duty, but for anybody who's not, it's you have a full-time job, you do what you do, but then you're also in the military, right? So you'll go on a few weekends out of the month to go drill or whatever, and then you'll, every year or two, you'll jump into going on a deployment or something like that. And I was working for the Army before I deployed to Iraq. And when I was leaving, I actually met this guy. He'd been working there for a while. I don't want to say his name or anything, but it was just the process of seeing him getting ready to retire after 40 years of government work. And boy, let me tell you what, he was excited, man. They bought an RV. They were getting ready to travel the country. They were getting ready to really do big things. Him and his wife were really happy. They'd already had the kids. They lived the life. They worked diligently for 40 years and finally about to get a pension from the government and be able to officially retire. And he was a cool guy. He was a really nice guy. I really liked him a lot. And I talked with him from time to time. So when I was leaving, he hadn't yet left, but I knew he was getting ready to leave. He had like maybe 2 weeks out before I left that he was getting ready to leave. And so I was gone for about a year, a little over a year. And when I came back, he was still there. And I was like, yo, what are you still doing here? Are you supposed to be gone? You're supposed to be in an RV traveling around the country. And come to find out, he did. He retired. They bought the RV, they left, they went and traveled around the country. And about a month or two into it, he started not feeling too good. He was coughing, he was sick. And so they went and saw a doctor. They found out he has lung cancer. And basically the payments for his insurance and medications and everything were so expensive, he had to go back to work. So he came back on as a contractor after he had already retired. And so when I came back and I heard that story and I seen that guy and what was going on with him, that just gave me even more drive and motivation to be like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to go and work 30, 40 years in a place. And then when I am ready to leave, I can't even do it because I don't have the money I need to live the life I want. So it was in that moment that I just decided, yeah, it's time for me to go ahead and get my license. And I was like, if it takes 10 years to build a business, it's like I can fail 3 or 4 times, really hardcore fail 3 or 4 times before I can hit it big and really be able to live the life that I want to live. And I said, I would rather take the chance of doing that versus the guaranteed 40-year pension, 30-year pension, whatever it might be, so I can retire one day.
Man,
I hope that's not too heavy.
No, it's very common across the society that people get excited about working to their 65. I think my light bulb that went off years ago, I'm a car guy, and I was like, yeah, and I retire. I'm going to second retire, I'm going to get a Corvette. Well, I started to get older and realize that, that's a lot of work getting in and out of a Corvette. And I work out a lot, and I think I'm in almost fairly decent shape, but who knows at 55, it's going to hurt to get in and out of that vehicle. So if I really want a Corvette, not that I need to work for a vehicle, but I need to position myself that while I'm in my best health and young and agile, that I need to be able to purchase it if that's my choice. Now, I'm not working for a car, but if I'm 32 and the day says, let's go buy a Corvette, I know I can hop in and out and enjoy it, because at 60, I probably won't even be able to see that well to drive it to the max speeds. But something as simple as that really had opened my eyes. Like, do I really want to be 65 in the Corvette trying to grab my cane because I worked so hard to finally enjoy the vehicle? And the other part of that too was, if I do get a nice sports vehicle, I don't want to drive it to work.
Right.
You're right.
Like, I'm going to get it
out.
No,
go ahead.
I get that, man, and that's kind of where I was at, Graham. Like, I just didn't want to, I didn't want to have that same setup, and I would rather buy things that are going to put me ahead in life than have the nicest clothes or the nice shoes or coolest cars, whatever. I'm like, I forget who said it, man, but I think it was Jay-Z said it one time. He said, if you can't buy it twice, you don't buy it at all, right?
Oh.
And I think that really, like, that was a quote that has always stuck with me. And I'm like, well, I really can't buy that car twice, especially pay cash for it, right? You don't need 2 loans. If I can't buy 2 of them, I don't want one of them.
Right.
And it just keeps you from, like, really, being in a place that would put you in a bad spot financially. You know what I mean? So that's really what did it for me.
Yeah, and I mean that makes sense, and that, it is a hard pill to swallow because it's such a reality check. Like you said, can I buy it twice?
Yeah.
The average vehicle is 30, 40 grand, probably 50 at this time.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking recently like 60 or 70.
I don't even look.
It's incredible.
I
Yeah.
went for an oil change the other day, and I seen a Tahoe for $89,000. Just blew my mind.
Man.
And the guy told me that the dealership took $5 grand off. It was a deal.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's not a deal anymore, man.
No, not at all. Not at
Oh,
all.
no,
I
it's a
drive
deal.
I have like a 10-year-old like Toyota Corolla that I drive around from time to time on appointments, man. Like
Right.
I just try not to let like the tangible materialistic things in life really get to me. I don't know. I've really never been that way, but I had to go and get some work done on it the other day, and I was like, man, it might be like a $1,500 fix, on the car. So I started looking. I was like, maybe I just need to get a new car right now, right? And the car payments, I'm sitting adding them up. They're about $1,000 a month, and I'm just sitting here thinking, all right, I can pay 1 month of $1,500. I can pay $1,000 for the next 6 years. I was like, I think I made my decision.
Hey, sir, fix it. Call me when it's ready. Thank you.
Or even like looking at, especially in real estate, it has me thinking a lot differently about things, right? Like, if I can buy an asset, if I can take the price of the car and I can buy an asset that'll give me the monthly payment I need to buy that car, maybe I buy an asset for, 50, 60, 70,000 cash somewhere that will give me $1,000 a month. I just use that $1,000 to make the car payment now, right? And I think that's a better way to set your life up than, taking out a loan for that amount of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it is harder said than done. And delayed gratification definitely plays a factor. But that's my goal. I want an asset to pay for every liability because I still want to enjoy those things, but I want to enjoy them and not them enjoying me, as in me working every day to pay them.
Facts.
And I think that's so important that and it is hard. It is hard to have an asset that take care of liability because that asset may take 7 years to grow to afford that liability. But it's a lot better when it's someone else's money in a sense because it's something that you built that's taking care of the things that you like to do. If you're taking that out of your primary source of income, well, congratulations. You're like 78% of the rest of Americans living check to check. And, it's normal, right? And being normal is accepted in some people. It's just not something that I'm cool with. So real estate investor, looked at that. You went into real estate investor. I actually talked to a guy the other day that flipped houses, and he was just explaining to me with the real estate investing and him being a realtor, when they do the, I can't think of the name of the form where you tell him nothing's wrong with the house, that he has to double check it because he is a realtor and licensed by the state. So if those ends don't meet, he has to do like 2 different inspections because he'll lose his realtor license and be fined. And this is like a lifetime thing. It's no statute of limitation on that. Are you still looking at real estate investment? Or are you just enjoying the realtor role right now? Or how's everything going?
Yeah, so that's kind of like where I got into now. So I work as a full-time agent currently, and I really wanted to do real estate investing because like when my wife and I bought our house, right? First of all, we were not married at the time. We were just boyfriend and girlfriend. We hadn't even gotten engaged or anything like that. But in my mind, I was 24 at the time, and I said, I would rather buy a house than spend money on a wedding. Like we don't have the money to begin with. It's a lot cheaper for us to buy a house than it is to throw a nice wedding. Like, why don't we just knock this out, right? Turned out to be one of the best decisions we've made. But at the time, it's like your mom and dad are telling you, go get married. You have friends telling you, why aren't you guys doing a wedding? It's like society wants to put this pressure on you. And I wasn't really feeling it. I've just always been that mindset of I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do what I think is right for me. And that was honestly one of the best things that we did. So yeah, real estate investing, how do you bring those two things together, right? Being the investor and the agent. I think it is pretty easy to do it. You get the inside scoop being a real estate agent, right? The hard thing I think for people to really bring together or mesh is that, and I did this too, my first year in real estate, like I didn't really sell anything. I just kind of was there existing. I absorbed information. I didn't really look at it in the way I should have been looking at it because I was very self-centered getting into the business, right? I was very selfish about my goals. I was like, I'm going to sell houses so I can make a bunch of money, right? And that is something that one of my mentors came to talk to me about. It's called commission breath, right? People can smell you coming after their equity. They can smell you coming after their assets. And if you're only in it for a self-interested reason, you're not doing it to help your clients achieve their goals. Because the reality is the best agents out here, like they literally do, they help their clients achieve their goals, whether it's buying a home, selling a home, buying an investment, selling an investment, whatever it is. And if you take that on, you take your client's goal on for yourself, whatever you charge them, that's what you get paid for doing a good job. But if you don't do the good job first, you never get paid for it. So in my mind, I had it all backwards. I'm going to make a bunch of money first, not I have a client that is hiring me to do this really complicated task for them, right? And so that's what I had to get, figured out for me at the end of the day was that. And so ultimately what happened for me was I joined a team and organization that gave me that mindset to go after. And that was where my mentorship came from for the first couple of years. But how do you mesh the two? When you're a real estate agent, you actually have the inside track of what's going on in the market. You know whether prices are going up or going down. You know what's fair market value. You know when there's a good deal to be had. So if you go to a seller and the seller has a home that needs work or it has issues or whatever, you know what those issues are, you know how much they cost. It's very easy for you to say, you have two options, Mr. Seller. You can either sell this house for cash, right? And here's roughly what the price is that you're going to get. Or you could go to the open market. You'll get more for it, but it's not going to be market value, right? If homes are selling for $500,000, your home needs $60,000 worth of work to get it to $500,000. Somebody's really only going to pay maybe $380, $400 for it, right? So, hey, I'll give you exactly what an investor would buy it for, maybe a little bit more because I know exactly what's wrong with it. Just sell it to me and I could do that for you, right? Now, when you present those two options to people and you present it clearly with what they understand, then you're in a place where you're helping them by giving them the education they need. And what I tell my clients all the time is like, you are going to make the right decision for you and your family, right? I'm not the one that's going to make the decision. You are. So let me give you the education that you need to advise and counsel you to make that decision, right? And I think when you do that properly at the end of the day, then people just look at you in a different light. They understand what it is that you're trying to do, which is help them at the end of the day. So when I present this to people, 98% of the time, 97% of the time, they just say, you know what, let's put it on the open market. And they get a lot more money in their pocket at the end of the day. So what ended up happening with me was when it came down to this situation of, do I want to be an investor? Well, now I have to look at how I'm doing my investing, right? So I'm now just serving people at a high level and I'm helping them with whatever their goals are, get paid a decent commission for it. And then I take that money and I go buy investment properties for whatever I'm aiming for, right? And so sometimes these are not in markets that are around me anyway, because if you're in the DC metro here, it's expensive property, not cheap. Our average home price here in Northern Virginia it was over the summer, like early summer, late spring, was pushing close to $1 million for a single family home, right? I don't have that cash. I don't have that down payment right now to be able to go $200,000-300,000 for a decent single family home to purchase. But there are other markets where you can buy multifamily properties for like $80,000, $90,000, $100,000. And that's an easier situation for most people to be in because you can just pay cash for it. It becomes a tax write-off. So now you can depreciate that asset, and whatever income I'm making for the year, I can take it against that depreciation. And so you just lower your tax liability all while at the same time buying investment properties. So that's something that my wife and I are going to do this year also, is take advantage of that. But yeah, so the opportunities for investing in the traditional sense like that, I haven't seen as many of them, but I think it's just because of the way that I go about my business.
You made a great point. I mean, I'm real big into sales, been doing sales all my life. I'm going to give you the information. I'm going to give you everything you need. You have to be the decision maker. And when you go in thirsty, it's the same in my sales. People know when we call it recruiting hungry. They know when you hurt and they know when you need a body because you can smell it when they get off the elevator. And I think that's very important, especially in the sales of find out what the sales is, the customer, making the customer happy, not what's going to make the most money in my pocket. Because like you said, they have, especially buying a home, that's some people's dream goal. One home is their only home. They don't want you to upsell them. You don't always have to upsell. Let me sell you $700,000 house because I've already counted my commission at 38, and that's what, rookies do. And then there's people who's been in the game a long time. I've noticed that, because when I go out and I just kind of shoot the crap with people, I can hear it in their voice. Like, okay, I've told them that I've been in sales. You would think they would adjust to how then they just boneheaded, like, no, you can do this. I'm like, I don't need that. But you can do this. I don't need that. And that's the thing, tailoring the sale to the customer, because they're going to buy out of emotion and they're going to buy out of you. They buying in the Sean Love, or they buy the house.
Absolutely.
And if they truly believe you have their best interests at heart, not only is they're going to purchase, what they can afford, they're going to bring you so much business that you can't put enough signs up in DC to bring them to you. And I think that's so imperative. So the DC market, let's talk about it right now. Present day 2022, coming off the pandemic, interest rates at an all-time low. Interest rates are now climbing. We have false prophets, or people who just look at stuff and saying that they should never buy a house to 2029.
Right. They should wait forever.
So go ahead. Good luck with that.
Right.
So my theory and our theory over here is, I think we're on the same page. Y'all can tell me if I'm wrong, but the price of the house is still going to go up even if interest rate goes back down. So you might get a 3% interest rate 8 years from now, but that $300,000 house is going to be $935,000. So, but what's your thoughts on how's business going now with just the constant turn of the economics?
Yeah, this is something we hear constantly. We have to fight it left and right. And on the news, the media outlets are all going to tell you the same thing. Oh my God, hey, this is the worst time to buy a house. Don't buy a house right now. And it's a little bit manipulative, man. I'm definitely, I don't know about you guys, but I have stopped watching mainstream media a long time ago. I don't look at it. If you look at who owns those corporations, it's not good for anybody. But if you really look at the data, so we just look at the data, that's it. Real estate is a very hyper-local market, okay? What's happening in one city may not be happening in another. And in our specific area, that is very true. If you look at the DC metro, in some areas, it's still a heavy seller's market, right? Properties don't sit on the market very long, lots of showings, things like that. So in Virginia, Northern Virginia is tending to fare pretty decently. We're still seeing low inventory, low days on market. It's still very much a great time for sellers to be selling. In Washington, D.C., the city of, it's trending back towards a more neutral market, right? We're seeing days on market start to tick up a lot higher within the city. People are not wanting to live in the city as much, right? So people are not buying properties as frequently in the city currently. The inventory is starting to tick up higher. So we're seeing it kind of level out there. And then in Maryland, parts of Maryland are faring a little bit differently, right? The Maryland, Montgomery County, PG County, things like that in our area, tending to stay still somewhat of a seller's market. We might see some areas start to see days on market trickle up a little bit. But then other parts of Maryland, it's definitely going back towards a more neutral market, more of a mixed market where it's more fair for buyers and sellers. But as far as the market crash goes, no, absolutely not. There is 3 graphs that you can kind of look at, maybe 4 graphs that you can look at, and this is all publicly available data. Are you guys familiar with the FRED?
The what?
FRED, the Federal Reserve Economic Data website.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the FRED website will have, and you can look these up, like just graphs, spreadsheets. And if you look at the last time that we really had high inflation like we do now, I wish I could have a graph to kind of compare side by side, but I think it would probably take a little bit too long to set that up. But if you just look at the inflation data for, let's say, like 1967 to 1985, right? Just look at what happened with inflation. We had high inflation back in the 70s, right? And we see the same thing starting to happen today. We're seeing inflation trickle up. I think the CPI numbers for July were like 9.1% or 9.3%, something like that, just something crazy. Last time we've seen that happen was back in the 70s. So, but if you take that 10 or 12 year period from 1968, 1969, all the way through 81, 82, 83, you're going to see that there was very high inflation. It was persistently high inflation. We had high gas prices along with high mortgage rates. We saw mortgage rates go all the way up to like 19, 20% in some parts, during that time frame. But we also saw another crazy thing, which was home values essentially tripled, right? You had home prices go threefold in the span of like 12 or 13 years, right? And so we have similar things happening currently. In the 70s, it was like the Cold War time frame, right? A lot of craziness going on. Nothing really crazy really happened, but diplomatic policies changed. Everything else was really going on in that time frame. And when we compare that data to what's going on today, we're seeing something very similar across. And then we take a fourth data point. We look at what rents did in that time too, right? end of 1960s to beginning of 1980s, we saw rent go up in some areas almost tenfold, right, on average. So if you want to stay renting as a buyer and continue to do that for the next 10 years while you're waiting for interest rates to come back down, I wouldn't do it. I would just take the loss and move on, right? You missed your chance to go out and buy. And you know what we were hearing 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, a year ago, when this was all going on? Oh my God, prices are so high, prices are going to fall. Man, it's all BS, man. It's all BS. People get in their heads about it. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. What I tell people is, what are you paying monthly? What is your monthly payment on this property? What are market rents right now? Is what you're paying monthly about the same as what market rent is? You are winning. Whether that's plus or minus a few $100s, like, you're winning at the end of the day. Because there's some people who are paying, you know, a decent amount in rent today, but if they have bought 2, 3, 4 years ago, they would be making approximately $400, $500, $600 a month on whatever that asset was, right? And they might also have another 50 or 100,000 in equity sitting in their home or their property. And so I just think that this whole conversation of, you know, real estate markets crashing, it's kind of a myth. If you look right now, BlackRock, I looked at the other day, they have $50 billion queued up to go buy real estate when the market is supposed to crash, right? Whatever that looks like. Well, what does a crash really mean? I mean, are we talking about, we had property values go up 40% in 2 years. Is a crash of 15 or 20% really that significant? So that means over the last 3 years, we saw property values go up 20%. Okay, well, where's the bottom really going to fall? Nobody really knows. So I tell people all the time, like, if this is something you're interested in, just look at the rent. What's the rent going to be on it? Can you make a profit on it? If you can make a profit on it, then you can buy it, right? It's all relative. And in 30 years from now, when you go to sell this asset, if you ever do sell, I am team never sell, hashtag never sell, right? I'm not, I don't think you should sell it, you know?
Right.
And I tell clients that all the time too. But yeah, that's what I tell people. This market, it's definitely a time to buy.
Yeah, and it always is, because I mean, like you said, that's how. So when I do math, that's homes are the only thing that I would do. What am I trying to spend monthly? Far as vehicles and other things, I need to know the bottom line price, because those are things that you normally can just cash out or get close to cashing out. I don't have 600,000 in my checkbook to write a check for a house, so I need to know what's a monthly payment. Moving here, I was looking at, and I was just being boneheaded just because I didn't really want to move to this area, but the Air Force said we don't care. I was looking at a rental property, and it was 20. The one we said we was gonna probably do was 2375. It was a 2 or 3 bedroom townhouse. I'm from the country. I never lived that close proximity to anyone. It's hard enough to have the wife and the baby in the house because I'm just so used to being in the country. But when I did that math, I was like, I still can come out better and just pay. If I can pay this price, I can pay the same price and own something. And I came in way cheaper. And I'm just like, I'm glad that I drove 8 hours here and the guy let somebody else sign for it. And I'm sure that if I would have walked through there, I would have walked up them 3 flights of stairs. Like, there's no way. Like, I just there's no backyard or nothing. So we know that real estate is definitely a hustle. It's definitely a hustle and bustle. I do believe, and I'm sure you can attest to it, you've probably seen more people come and go during this time frame because of the pandemic. They thought real estate and mortgages and lending and brokerage was the way to go because houses were flying off the market. But reality is coming back. You started before the pandemic came. So what advice would you give someone who were looking at this career field? Because there is a false sense that I can go in and get all these commissions because houses are just flying. People think they're just going to walk in and be the realtor of the year. I know better, but I would, with you being in the field, I would like for you to explain or just give your take on it.
Yeah, I think it depends on your mindset. When I came in 2017, 2018, people were saying the same thing. The market's crashing. This is a horrible time for you to get in as an agent. And I read this book and I forget the name of it. I think it was by Grant Cardone or something, but he said, I look for the market downturns. I want the market to crash because when the market crashes, that's when I'm going to shine because I'm going to outwork and I'm going to out hustle every single one of you, right? I'm going to be the one out there putting my name up and knocking these doors and calling these people and getting my name out there. And guess what? You're going to be stuck at home thinking, oh my God, this is the end of the world. Things are crashing all around me, right? All of that is going to be playing in your head. But in my head, I'm going to say, yeah, you're sitting on your couch and I'm going to outwork you. I'm going to out hustle you, right? And that's exactly what I think it comes down to. It's not an industry for the faint of heart. It's really not. I stepped up recently into the role. I was actually hired on by my brokerage to be the productivity coaching agent, which is where I get in front of all the new agents that come in and help get them into production, right? And that is something that we constantly are talking about. Like, what are your goals, right? Do you want to be a highly producing agent? Do you want to make 6 figures, 7 figures a year? You can do it, but it doesn't happen overnight. And I think a lot of people have this mindset of like, well, as soon as I walk in the door, I'm here. Where's my $1 million, right? And it doesn't happen like that at all. So you have to earn it. And there's a lot of comparison that goes on within yourself and other people, I think, just from being in a naturally competitive environment. So I would say for anybody who's interested in getting into this as a career, examine why. I would take a look at your why. And there's a book, I actually brought it with me. If anybody's interested, this is where you start, right? It's called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, okay? So this is the book that will give you the systems and the models and the tools to actually go out and be a successful real estate agent. And the thing that's in that book is start with your why. Why are you doing this? Because when things get hard, at the end of the day, you gotta have something to lean back on, right? And so for me, my why was always, I default to that story of being working for the Army and knowing who I knew and seeing their struggle and saying, I don't want that for my life. And that was my default to it. So outside of that, anybody who's interested in it, it's a lot of fun, but you are responsible for your paycheck at the end of the day. So if you're not ready to take that on as a challenge, there's other options for you, you know? Yeah. Not to discourage anyone, but I think people blew a lot of smoke up my butt when I was starting, and I definitely didn't like that. They're like, oh yeah, you'll be really successful, no worries. And I am, but there is a lot of trial and tribulation and heartache that comes along with it. So just be prepared to face that, and it's not all roses and, you know, flashy cars over here. Like, there's a lot of people I know that put on a lifestyle and pretend to be that person, but they really are not. They're paying dearly for it. And I know it hurts them every day when they look up and they say, oh, I got all this stuff. I got this nice car, these nice clothes. I don't have nothing else to show for it outside of what I've bought. And for me, it's not about what other people see. It's what I see when I get into my bank account. That's what I want to see.
Man, I feel like this is a mentorship more than the real estate.
Yeah, this is great.
This is some life coaching for y'all for sure.
Because you're breaking down the truth. He's breaking down what we say all the time, but some people take what I may say or you may say or Colin may say with a grain of salt because we're not active real estate investors or real estate agents. But I've been around the block 1,000 times and I know a little bit about a lot. And I know that real estate is a sales market, right? And ultimately, in anything that you do that's going to be high paying in the world is going to be in a sales market. Selling a product or selling a service, and you got to sell yourself before you do both of that. But in the same breath, with that sales means work. Sales, they should just take the word out of sales and put work my ass off to get my name there. Because we can sit on social media and spend all the promo on Facebook marketing, Instagram marketing. Like you said, I know that, I want to give a disclaimer to anyone out there in the sales groups or in the sales world that somebody like me who potentially is going to not, smoke your, not going to waste your time and going to buy. Like, I don't care what you got on or what you pull up in. I'm going to listen to everything you say and how you carry yourself. And that's going to make me, because one, if you pull up in a Bentley, and I like Bentleys, and you're trying to sell me a house,
I want to know how you got the Bentley.
And not everyone who has a flashy demeanor means that they mean wrong, but more so than none, like you stated, there's real estate agents who are taking these rapper photo shoots and they're doing all of these things to get their name out, and they're doing their things to get their name out and everything but their craft.
Yeah.
I hear you. If I know more about this property and how these things work more than my agent, why are you here?
I need you for
it. No, I agree. And I 100% agree with you there.
Stop what you're doing right now, man. Hit that like button, man. What's a comment? Let us know how we doing. Appreciate y'all.
I think the thing people take for granted is there's two things. Number one is in this business, you will get, as you grow, I'm gonna figure out how to say this. So your business will grow to the extent that you do. It's actually written on the wall here in the office, right? But your business will grow in relation to how you grow as a person, right? How much you give, how much you care about other people, how much you love life, like how happy or at peace you are with yourself. The more you grow in that sense, the more your business will grow. And I will say from experience that that is 100% true. And then the second thing is, I think people, have the wrong mindset walking into it. And I did too. I actually had to adjust my mindset, which was, looking after other people more than you're looking after yourself. If you help other people achieve their goals and build wealth, then you will in turn be wealthy because you just created a bunch of millionaires around you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I said this the other day. I hadn't put it out yet, but the easiest way to make money is to help someone else make money.
Yeah.
Like it sounds as crazy as it sounds. And that's why internship is important, because you're making someone else money. So you're getting the experience for free, which is sometimes worth more than the paycheck.
Yeah. As a perfect, segue to that, when you work in real estate like this, you have solo agents, and a lot of them just keep all the commission from themselves. They may have to pay a brokerage or whatever, but you also have people that join a team, right? And a lot of times you get in this and you say, okay, well, why would I join a team, right? Why do I want to join a team? They are usually taking about half of your earnings, which kind of sucks, right? But I tell people this, especially new agents, all the time. I literally sat around for a year and didn't do anything, right? So I was making 100% of zero, right? I made nothing. Right? But when you get with a team or you get with somebody who's doing this business at a high level, then you're taking 50% of whatever that earnings are, right? So I literally treated my first couple of years when I worked on a team, the mindset that I had was, this is like working in a high level MBA program that you get paid for, right? MBA, I think it sounded like MBA, but MBA, right? MBA program that you're getting paid to do, okay? And I literally, over the course of a couple of years, made my mentor and the team that I worked on close to $250,000, if not maybe $300,000 in sales, right? And I got to keep some of that for myself too. But at the same time, I learned all the skills and the mindset and everything that I needed to grow and succeed as a very productive agent. And now I'm on my own, and so I get to make that for myself. And I'm doing that with other people as well.
And it all came full circle, because you took all that gain that you soaked up, and it didn't come out of your pocket, versus if you would have kept it by yourself, you would have been still trying to play catch up.
Yeah. Like, you skip it when you have the right mentor. And trust me, I interviewed with a lot of people, but when you have the right mentor, it does help cut your time down, because you don't have to make all these mistakes on your own.
Yep.
And that's why I say start with that. And it's 2 books. I'll show you the other one now too. The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. Oh, I did. I came prepared. Millionaire Real Estate Investor, because it gives you, every time the MREA, we call it the MREA, the red book, right? Millionaire Real Estate Agent. But there's all of these systems and models that you literally, if you just do what this book says and you build a business similar to what's in this book, you will be successful. Every time I stray away from those models, I mess myself up. I spend money unnecessarily. I'm doing things I don't need to be doing. And so as long as you can find a model or a system and put yourself in that box, even just for a couple of years to learn it, a lot of times we try to be creative, but we're not creative. We shouldn't be creative. We're not meant to be creative right off the bat. We need to get something that works, put money in our pocket. Then we can be creative once we know how to do it.
For sure. So I just want to turn this podcast to the left a little bit, right? So obviously we got people on here. If they wanted to be a real estate agent, we gave them everything they needed. We built the false narrative that people shouldn't buy a house right now. So can we give people some advice on home buying?
Sure.
Along the lines of, for those who haven't bought a house before, what are some programs they can look at, and what's a good credit score for them? How much money do they need saved up? A lot of people don't know about all these fees that come with buying a house. Just
bring them down one by one, man. You
ran them through like 7 questions.
He threw like 7 questions. So let's just. I'm it's
all right.
I'm in lockstep with you. What are some programs available for first-time home buyers? Let's start there.
So let's talk about jurisdiction you're buying in, right? We have 3 different jurisdictions that we operate in here. You have Virginia, Maryland, and DC. All of them have first-time buying programs. And I think one of the myths that we talk about is, do you have to be a first-time buyer? A lot of times, no. Sometimes it's just you're buying for the first time in that state, right? Sometimes it's a year requirement. You can't have bought anything in the last 5 years. Some of them, it's you can't have bought anything at all, right? We could literally do an hour podcast, and I would probably want to bring one of my lenders on to even talk about these things a little bit more. But the reality is there are so many different programs out there at the state level, at the county level, and even at the city level to get people into properties. Okay. It's very simple. All you need is a minimum credit score that's usually around like 600, maybe 620. Some of them go a little bit lower than that. If you have a lower than that credit score, you'll be looking at a slightly higher interest rate. But at the end of the day, when you look at our properties here in the DC Metro, we know for a fact, take any 30-year slice of history you want, 2.5 times to 4 times their value over that period. Doesn't matter over the last 100, 150 years. You look at a property in our area, look at it 30 years later, what's it worth? It's anywhere from 2.5 to 4 times its value within that 30-year period, right? And so that's reliable data that you can look at and know, all right, if I buy a property today and I just wait until it's 30 years from now, I'll have an asset that's going to be 3 to 4 times what I paid for it, most likely. Okay. And when it comes to the first time buying programs, I think the big thing people need to understand is because of the variety, you got to figure out your why. I'll just take it back to that. Why are you buying in the first place? Are you buying because you're tired of renting? Well, that's different than the person buying because they want to get into real estate investing, right? Okay. Are you buying to do vacation rentals or, rent to the nursing community, okay? Or executive management, whatever that is. All of that can happen in our area. If you're just buying straight out a home, you'd probably want to do a first time buyer program. If you're buying because you want to own multiple units, multiple doors at the end of the day, you probably want to look into, for your veteran clients, if you have a VA, if you can use a VA loan, buy a multifamily with a VA loan. It's zero down, literally zero down. And I think a common myth people don't realize is in our DC Metro here, you can actually buy a 4-unit property up to $1.4 million, right? You might be able to go even higher than that, but doing that on a VA loan, which can mean zero down payment, right? So what else can you do to buy a $1.4 million property with a VA loan, essentially no money down? The only requirement is you have to live in it for 12 months. That's it. So when we talk about getting highly leveraged in real estate, this is something that I've helped a lot of people with, over the last 2 years, 3 years now, is buying multifamily properties. It makes no sense not to buy when you can do that with a VA loan. You can also do it with an FHA loan. You don't have to be veteran to do that. You can buy a 4-unit property on an FHA loan. It's a 3.5% down payment, right? So you can get highly leveraged with real estate in that regard. But a lot of times the first time buyer programs will either give you a grant or they will give you a second trust. So you have your first trust, which is the primary mortgage. That's like 97% of the home's value. The second trust could be anywhere from 1%, 2%, 3%. And that's usually your down payment. And they'll give you that as a second trust. And they'll either do that via second trust or a grant. So it lowers the amount of money that you need out of pocket to actually buy something. We help a lot of renters. I know I'm like going all in on this right now. So if I'm saying too much, just let me know. But all right. So the perfect scenario that I tell people with is if your lease is up, you can become a buyer very, very easily. You need a security deposit and first month's rent. With rates having gone up the way that they have, the market has now become less saturated with buyers because people are skittish about the market. They don't know where it's going. So for you as a tenant, someone who is renting, or maybe someone who wants to buy a new property, let's say your rent is $2,000 a month. I think that's a fair rent for like a 2-bed, 1-bath, 2-bed, 2-bath in our area, maybe a little more than that, but let's just use $2,000 a month as an example. You're gonna need a security deposit and first month's rent to sign a new lease. That's $4,000, right? In most of our area, if you're buying as a first-time buyer, you're gonna need a 3% to 3.5% down payment, okay? So let's just take that as an example. You're also going to need anywhere from 2.5% to 4% for closing costs. Okay. So all in all, you're going to need anywhere from 6 to 7% cash out of pocket to buy any property. Okay. With the first time buying programs, most of them will give you between 1, 2, or 3% towards your down payment, either in the form of a second trust or a grant. That will cover your down payment for the most part. When it comes to your closing costs, let's say between 3 and 4%, we'll ask the sellers to pay all of your closing costs that they can. For most of those loan programs, they can give you up to 3%. In Virginia, your closing costs are anywhere from 2.5% to 3%. In DC, it's usually 3 to 3.5%. In Maryland, it's usually 3.5 to 4.5%. Okay. So when you jump into this, you say, all right, I'm getting a grant or a second trust for the down payment. The sellers are going to give me 3%. And so I have about 5% on average covered right there. And I need 6 to 7%. So just simple math, we're buying a $400,000 starter home. Maybe we're buying a $300,000 starter home, but let's just use the $400,000 starter home. This could be a single family, townhouse, or a condo. I'm going to need 1 to 2% of the sales price on average to get into that home. If it's a $400,000 home, I have that covered more often than not, just simply with the amount that I already have for my security deposit plus first month's rent, right? And so sometimes there's a little bit of money that can be made up either through a retirement account, or depending on the county or jurisdiction you're in, there may be additional loan or grant programs for you to cover that difference. A lot of people don't even realize this, but there's so much money that goes to waste every year in our area for those programs. And the city, the county, the state doesn't care, because when you buy a property, you're now paying property taxes. Uncle Sam is happy because you're paying property taxes. So they give you the money freely, or they give you the money in the form of like a no interest second trust. And you get that money, you buy the property you want to live in. Now you're a homeowner, you're building equity, you're paying property taxes, which they love. They use that to fund the schools, the police, everything in between, roads, all of that. And now you're adding more to society than you're taking from it, right? And so that's the example that I give people all the time. It's when you run the numbers on this, it's actually very affordable for people to buy a place for a first-time buyer.
Hey,
does that make sense?
Most
I know it's a lot, man. I can break it out more if I need to, but
we're gonna need a part 2.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, yeah, definitely need a part 2.
You killed all of it. You gave them percentages, and you made I mean, I'm sitting here, I didn't even know about the jurisdiction changes and some of those ins and outs. That's why he's the expert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's really just getting you in touch with the right lender who can help you with those programs, because everybody's situation is unique. And I'll give an example. I'm working with a throuple right now, and they originally came to me as a couple, and I said, okay, you guys are trying to buy a place, like let's talk about it. And it came to be that there's actually 3 of them in the relationship, and I know this is common and getting more common, I think, from place to place.
You're talking about like a polyamorous relationship?
Yeah, a little polyamorous relationship. And they thought they wouldn't be able to buy because for the 2 of them, because they're a married couple, but then there's also a third person that's in the mix. And so they didn't think they could have all 3 of them on the deed. They didn't think they could buy this place all together. And the reality is that you actually can. But me as your agent, if you don't share with me all the details of what's going on for your unique situation, I don't know how to advise you. Right. And so a lot of what's standing in people's way is their own fear about the unknown, right? And so if you just tell me what's going on in your life, what's going on in your world, I can assist you.
Mm-hmm. Just like a lawyer, tell them everything so they can advise you how to make your next step.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
Dang, I didn't know that at all.
So if you're listening and you have any quarrels or qualms about purchasing, you might just be nervous, and you're in this area, or I'm sure he can direct you to the right area if it's in your location, because Keller Williams Realty is very huge. Reach out to a professional. And Sean made great points at the start. I'm pretty sure all of us are on the same page. I don't watch mainstream media either. It doesn't help me. And like all they do is instill fear. So when they instill that fear in you, you got the BlackRock company with $50 billion ready for you to be scared so they can capitalize. I mean, it's the oldest trick in the book. And as long as you get caught up in the media, which is paid media to say things, ding, 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 they're paid. It's the reason why they're there. We have to start deciphering through that, because you'll live in fear and be a puppet your entire life if you don't step out of the box. Go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say, while you talking about like media, like sometimes it's Facebook. Like these people, some of these people not even watching the news. They're watching people on Facebook make posts about homes who don't even own homes.
Yeah.
Don't have $1 million portfolio on real estate, who aren't an agent, who aren't a lender. It's just regular people just talking.
And it's a popularity thing, though. Popularity will lead you right to poverty.
Yeah. I don't try to be the most popular person out here. I feel like Graham, you touched on this a little bit, was, this is a business. It's one of my mentors used to call it a belly to belly business, right? It's you're in front of somebody. When they know you, they like you, they trust you, they'll want to do business with you because they respect what you have to say and they know you're on top of your game. So it's not even being on social media. You're right. It's popularity contest. You just want to stay away from that if you can.
I'd rather be unknown and paid than popular and poverty. Yeah. Cut that edit. I don't know what I was trying to say.
That's crazy.
Anything else realty we have? We're gonna let them get back about an hour in. I know we steered that conversation and went nice and deep. I appreciate it though.
No, my pleasure, man. I'm just trying to give you as much as I can. I know you got a lot of people out there that are probably like just trying to figure it out. I would tell them, just take the long game with it, man. Real estate is not a get rich quick scheme. And if you treat it as such, you will find yourself very broke very quickly. So take the long game. It's a slow growth asset. You can't sell a house overnight. If you do, you're going to take a big loss on it. And that's my big thing right there, is just, keep that in mind. Take it slow.
Man, I just want to tell the people, man, do not wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait. And just, it's going to come back 30 years. Come on, Hustle. You know I got the gems, man. What's wrong with you, man?
On it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking right now. We got a problem with, as far as the trucking goes, just with parking. I'm like, let's just go find some land. Like, let's just buy some acres. We'll figure out the rest later. It might turn into a strip mall that we reset. Who knows?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That can go hand in hand. A little trucking lot with this and stripping. Hey, man. Yeah.
Every truck stop started out as a parcel of land. Every mall started out as a parcel of land. Somebody bought some acres that got developed. And as Sean said, sometimes they take 10, 20, 30 years. Quick story, Master P from New Orleans, he bought some property when he had that life insurance policy before he started his rap company. He didn't even disclose the numbers because they were so outrageous, but that same property that he bought for like a couple thousand, $5,000-$6,000 at that time in the 80s or 90s turned into like one of the biggest malls in New Orleans. So they paid him a lot to get in the way Master P thinks. I'm sure he sold them some and left some in to get some dividends.
Yeah. So there's a guy I know, he's on social media. He's an older guy. He's got lots of experience. His name, I think he's British or Australian or something. His name is Dolph DeRoos. DOLFDEROOS. He shares a ton of stories on like commercial real estate investing. And I think one of the big ones he shared was they bought like an empty plot of desert land for like, I think it was like 10 million or something like that. And they basically hired a bunch of excavators. They dug out land from this desert. There's nothing there. And they dug it all out. And then over the course of like 3 years, they filled it up with water and they made like one of the largest jet ski home communities in Arizona or New Mexico. I was like, really? They ended up selling it for like 50 times what they bought it for. And if you can figure out, like, that's one of the things that I'm learning about right now. And that's why I like real estate, is because it gives you so many opportunities. Like if you go into this business, treat it as such that it opens the door to so many other different methods of making money and just building wealth and building your resources. So I'm learning about commercial. I like it a lot. I might jump into that later down the line.
So how could the people contact you?
Yeah, if they want to get in touch with me, if you just look up Sean Love Home DMV on Google, we should just pop up right there. But if they ever want to book a call with me, I have a Calendly link. It's just by Sean Love. So calendly.com/by Sean Love. Or they can go to my website at lovehomedmv.com. I'd be happy to connect with anybody there who's interested. Yeah, man, I'm just, half the calls that I take with people don't end up being anything. It's just it's guidance, it's putting them on the right track. And, if they take the advice and they do what they need to do, then it'll turn into something great for them. But yeah, even if they just want to talk, just let me know. Be happy to help.
Definitely. Can't stress enough. Ask the questions, man. You're not gonna know the answer unless you ask. Please ask questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm probably gonna be calling back because it's just so much you gave. I'm over. That's why I kept turning left. I got a calendar here, and it's just scribbled all out. But I've got so many notes, and ultimately, we love. We appreciate you coming on the show, just taking time out of your day. Like I said, I know how it is in that area where you got to hustle and bustle. You got to beat traffic. If you don't leave at a certain time, you're not gonna get home. So
for sure, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
I'm like,
yeah, we definitely appreciate your time. And in the future, we do look at some collaborations. We got some projects and stuff we like to do. But I mean, at best, thank you for your time and just sharing all that information of wealth. Definitely want to do a part 2, part 3, a workshop, just a lot of things because I mean, you got it and you're giving it back. So we appreciate it. Y'all got anything, guys?
Hey, thank you again. Thank you for responding. You reached out. It's a pleasure, and we're looking forward to another episode soon.
Thanks, Chris.
Definitely.
I appreciate it. Colin, Graham, thank you guys so much for having me on. Yeah. Let me know if you guys ever want to set something up, man. I'll be happy to do an in-person workshop too, if you guys would like.
Oh, yeah.
We can go over whatever you want to go over.
Okay.
Definitely. Appreciate that.
Cool.
This is recorded.
All right, guys.
This is recorded.
Thanks so much.
It's recorded. All right. Have a good one.
All right. We'll see you.